all you Justin Bieber fans out there that think he's a Christian because he says, I'm a Christian, they have prayer. Take a look at this. That's not a Christian hand gesture, is it? Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Mike Hoggard, pastor of Bethel Church in Festus, Missouri, and head of prophetic research ministry with another Watchman video broadcast. Last week, we did the DVD, the video, the Watchman broadcast on UFOs. Well, this week, we find out that they've landed, okay? Well, not yet, but they're planning on it. Steve Jobs, the head of Apple Computer, you know, the company whose symbol is the apple, we'll talk about that, that wants you to think different. He shows up unannounced, June 7th, City Council meeting in Cupertino, home of the computer giant, to reveal plans for a new state-of-the-art Apple headquarters. The stunning design resembles a spaceship. It'll be 4 stories and house 12,000. I don't know. Steve Jobs is a newager. I'm sure he's read The Aquarian Conspiracy, and I'm reasonably sure that when Marilyn Ferguson wrote this book, she had Steve Jobs in mind. He is a new ager. He believes in this idea, sort of like Spielberg and some of these others. We talked about this in the last video, that the aliens are going to come and get in contact with us and come down, bring us illumination. They're really the good guys. They're the saviors. They're going to help us out. They're going to benefit us. They're going to bring us to a new age where our eyes will be open. Hence, the Apple logo. The Apple logo. The apple, we've talked about this before, the apple being a very, very sacred symbol in the occult world, in Luciferianism, in mysticism, in witchcraft, and all kinds of things. A very, very common, very powerful symbol. The apple with a bite out of it sort of takes you back to Genesis chapter 3. In Genesis chapter 3, here is the serpent, and he's telling Eve, here, eat this, and you'll have your eyes open, and you shall be as gods. And the Bible doesn't say it was an apple, but this apple symbol is important, and it has a lot to do with what's inside the apple. Now, I want you to remember that I said that, because we're going to be dealing with some things today in this broadcast, some things we've touched on earlier about what's on the inside, what's really hidden inside the apple, hidden inside the human being. We're going to talk about that. But inside, if you cut an apple in half and you look at it, the reason why the Apple logo and the Apple symbol is so powerful is that it contains a pentagram. What does a pentagram represent? Luciferianism, witchcraft, the sacred feminine. Dan Brown talked about it in the Da Vinci Code. The pentagram is a symbol for the number 5. Why is that symbol so important? Number 1, it's a number for death in the Bible. Number 2, it is Lucifer's 5-point plan, Isaiah chapter 14. I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. So I want you to think about the apple. Think about its symbolism. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. And then he says, I will be like the Most High. And so it's not just the elevation of Lucifer, but the elevation of mankind itself being like the Most High. I am God. When you hear all these televangelists running around telling everybody, you're God, you're God, you're God. God says you're God. Watch out for that. Something that I remembered when I was looking at this apple thing and the bite taken out of it and everything like that, something I remembered from reading the Da Vinci Code. Dan Brown did a lot of research into a lot of the occult world and brought it into this book to teach people, to educate them. Was the story of the sacred feminine. The sacred feminine is the idea that the goddess really is the chief deity that should be in charge, or that her, the goddess, and the god were equals. They shared this idea of equality. And the evil Christian church has put the sacred feminine to sleep. The evil Christian church has killed off the sacred feminine. And in the New Age realms, in a lot of these Wicca realms, you hear them talk about how the sacred feminine is seeing a revival. She's coming back to life again. Well, this was visualized in the old story of Sleeping Beauty. Remember, the witch of Sleeping Beauty gave her a poison apple. She ate of it, and it caused her to go sleep. Someday my prince will come. And so one of these days, the prince, should you get that? The prince is going to come and revive the sacred feminine. That's what that's all about. Now, and then, we deal with the whole issue of apples, like the term Avalon. The term Avalon simply means apple. Avalon is this mystical kingdom that is the bridge to hell, that opens up the gate so that they that are on this side can come through to the other side. That's the imagery that you find with the apple. Anyway, let's move on. Here is an article from WorldNet Daily. School to kids. You can be boys or girls or both. Pro-family organizations across the nation are expressing shock and alarm over a new wave of homosexual indoctrination developing in public schools, especially in California. Why doesn't that surprise me? Where parents are not even given the option of withdrawing their kids from the mandatory lessons on being gay or more. Young children are being taught that they can choose to be a boy or a girl or both, said officials at Mass Resistance, one of the leading organizations across the country, defending the fact that students are boys or girls. Boys, for example, should be comfortable wearing girls' clothes and nail polish, etc. And there aren't just two genders. There can be a range. And of course, the school does not allow parents to opt their kids out, the organization said. Can you say Baphomet? Baphomet is the fusion of male and female together. And so I want you to get this concept here. Let's pull out the Aquarian conspiracy. Oh, no, let's pull out the New King James Bible, because, okay, same symbol. This symbol, we've talked about a lot. It represents a lot of things. It represents three-strand DNA. It represents witchcraft. It represents the power of three, the man of sin, lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life. It represents a lot of things. One of the things it represents is what's called the third way. The third way. The third way is this concept that, well, let's see, the Democrats in our country, they don't have all the answers. The Republicans in our country don't have all the answers. Maybe we should go a third way. Maybe we should go a new direction. When the charismatic movement started making inroads into fundamental Christianity, they called it riding the third wave. Okay, riding the third wave. This idea of fusion. Glenn Beck says, oh, the Democrats are wrong, the Republicans are wrong. Maybe there's a new way that our country can go into, and that's called the third way. And so in this concept here, you have, well, we know we have boys, and we know we have girls. But let's introduce to all of these children a third gender, a third way. Not just boys, not just girls, but the fusion. If boys want to be girls and girls want to be boys, that represents the new way, the new paradigm, or the third way. That's what this is all about. That's who Baphomet represents, because he is both male and female fused together in the same body. If you think the homosexual agenda is dangerous enough, think of the spiritual implications that are behind it. This is why it made such inroads into government, television, film, music, you name it. Lady Gaga, Born This Way, she's talking about a third way. And then in Bible Christianity, into the church, here comes the march of homosexualism into the realms of the church. I remembered a story, what was it, a couple weeks ago in Great Britain. A family decided that they were not going to reveal the gender of their baby, and they were going to let the child grow to such a point to where they were going to decide what gender they were going to be. It's not natural. God didn't make us that way. He made us to be male or female. They're trying to bring in a third way. Here's something related to that. Is Obama's GOP prayer partner a dim wolf in sheep's clothing? He teaches that the Bible mandates Christians combat so-called global warming and even helped to make a toolkit to aid pastors in preaching about climate change. He resigned from the Christian Coalition after the group wouldn't broaden its agenda to include social justice and fight global warming. Let me stop right here. It's amazing me that in a lot of these big social churches now, and these emerging churches, these churches that are in the process of transforming, you don't hear much about the blood, you don't hear much about the cross, you don't hear much about preaching against sin and hell and things like that. But what you do hear is sermons about social justice, racial equality, poverty awareness, global warming. Oh, we have to save our... That's what God called us to be as Christians, as planet saviors. That's what you hear, and this is who this guy is. Joel Hunter, a member of President Obama's Faith Council. Hunter is the senior pastor of Northland, a church distributed congregation of 15,000 people that worships at 4 sites in Central Florida and at more than 1,000 sites worldwide via interactive webcast, iPhone, and Facebook. And I would say big deal. Big deal how big his congregation is. In February 2009, Hunter was appointed to the inaugural board of the White House Advisory Council on Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships, which is supposed or purposed to advise Obama on substantive policy issues. Perhaps more than other Faith Council members, Hunter is most identified as praying with Obama. Though he says he's a Republican, Hunter delivered the closing benediction on the final day of the 2008 Democratic National Convention. He has been close to Obama, praying with him on the day of 2008 presidential election, offering a blessing for President-elect Obama at the pre-inaugural worship service at St. John's Church, January 22nd, 2009. By the way, that, as far as anybody knows, that is the last time that Barack Obama attended a church service since he's been in the White House, as far as anybody knows. Now, I may be wrong on that. I read something the other day that is interesting, don't know how accurate it is. Someone is saying that they have noticed that Barack Obama's watch and his ring are not on his hand anymore. When asked about this, it's being repaired. Some are speculating, is it true? I don't know. Some are speculating that he is doing so in honor of Ramadan. The idea that during Ramadan, the Muslim service, you don't wear any jewelry. Who knows? Has he been to church in a while? No. Okay? Let's see. Christians go to church. Anyway, let's move on. New World Order time. New World Order time, and it's closer than you think. The all-seeing eye is everywhere. It's watching you. It's going to know who you are. It's going to be able to recognize you. Let's say that you have never committed a crime. Okay? Let's say that you've never been tried, convicted, you've never been fingerprinted for a crime, you've never been databased for a crime. If they were to run a background check on you, crystal clear. Okay? So how is it that a government database, NSA, CIA, Homeland Security, local PD, how is it that when you're walking down the street and you just happen to pass within, let's say, 600 yards of one of these security cameras, how is it that the security camera would be able to lock onto your face and say, oh, we know who that is. That is John Smith, okay, of Walla Walla, Washington, and he is 48 years old, and he weighs 225 pounds. He is 6 foot 1 inch tall. He works at the local can factory. And by the way, he says he loves his wife, but he really doesn't, because we know things. How is it that they'll be able to do that? Facial recognition software first came up in airports. Airports wanted to know who's walking up down the aisle. Even though they check everybody's ID, we need to know who's walking up down the aisle here. We need to be able to recognize their face. And oh, by the way, we're getting pretty good at determining whether or not, by the way they look, whether or not they're going to blow a plane up or not. Pre-crime, thought crime, things like that. Well, Facebook, you took a picture of yourself on Facebook. You held the camera out and you went, and you took a picture. I hate those pictures. Anyway, you took a picture of yourself and put it on Facebook with your name splattered all over it. By the way, it's geotagged, which means